Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 7 of the SOTA Pop podcast. I'm Grayson Wagner, and as always, SOTA stands for School of the Arts, and pop just sounds nice next to it. I'm here with a very special guest, Trevor Peck.
Hello.
I was doing jazz hands for anyone listening. Trevor, it's great to have you here. Trevor is going to be working on the podcast with me this year. We're shaking things up. We're kind of in a transitional phase right now, which is why there's nothing on the wall behind us as well for YouTube viewers. But we're working on it. We're going to have a lot of stuff up here. Yeah, it's going to be a great year. I'm really excited.
Yeah, you're not going to know what hit you.
You're not going to know. You're going to feel something hit you and you're going to be like, what was that? You're not going to know. So we're going to start with a segment where we're talking about some of our favorite things. And because we're both film students, I thought we could talk about some of our favorite films. I'll go first. I'm going to talk about a film called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I really like this movie. It's a buddy comedy, and it's just two guys who get in on each other's nerves, and it's a great Thanksgiving movie. So that I would recommend that to anyone listening right now. Trevor, what's a movie that you love?
Well, a movie that I rewatched sort of recently that I really love is The Thing. I love The Thing. It's a great sci-fi thriller. One of the things that I love about The Thing is
One of the things
about The Thing is that, like, for most of the movie, like, the alien just looks like a human. And I just think that's so fun that, like, I don't know, it's just a fun movie.
It's like life in a way.
It's like, you can't tell who's an alien and who's not, and that's life.
And that's life. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes there's an alien right next to you. Well, as we're starting this conversation, just a little catch-up. How was your summer, Trevor?
Oh, my summer was good. It was good. I was fairly busy, but it was also just really restful. I just went to work and worked on just a few projects and things like that.
Same here. I feel like Trevor and I were creative partners this summer. We're working on a big project. I think I mentioned this last year on the podcast a bit, but something big is in the works, but we're just kind of, it's a big project, so it's going to take some time. But that was the main thing I was working on this summer, and also just SOTA Pop here or there. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Okay, let's get into the conversation and just get to know each other a little bit, for the audience's sake anyway, about just some of our earliest creative memories. I would love to hear about what inspired you. When did you know you wanted to be creative? What creative projects were you working on when you were really little, or was that like a later thing?
Well, I guess, like, my parents tell me I've always been creative, but for me that was just like, I was just playing with, like, action figures with my brother. I would just come up with, like, stories for them.
Right.
I remember that, like, he used to get, like, really mad at me because, like, he would just want them to, like, fight and do action and stuff. But, like, I would, like, after, like, my little Iron Man action figure got hit, I would, like, have Iron Man be like, "Oh God, I've been hit," and I would just
you would, like, deliver a soliloquy.
He would be like, "Trevor, like, get on with it,"
He had character development. He had to learn from his battles.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just Yoda and miscellaneous action figures.
Yeah, for him it was just always about, like, them, like, hitting each other or, like, some kind of action sequence. But I don't know, for whatever reason I was just like, I don't know, I guess they were, like, over dramatic. It was almost melodramatic. The first time that I ever realized that I wanted to do something creative was in 10th grade. I took a creative writing class at my high school, Bob Jones, and it was the first time that I was given assignments that, like, I worked really hard on because I wanted to. Most of the time, if I was, like, doing something, I'd be working really hard because I was scared to get a bad grade.
Right.
Yeah, my parents were pretty strict about, like, you have to get A's and B's. So I was really, I had a lot of anxiety about getting bad grades, so I'd work really hard on things to avoid that. But, like, in, like, a creative writing class, what's the teacher supposed to say? Like, you're not being creative enough, or, like, subjectively I didn't like this, so you get a bad grade. And so it's like I would be working really hard. I'd be staying up really late, writing these short stories. And if I'd spent just 1 hour writing it, I could have gotten the same grade. But I don't know, just something about it. I loved being able to, like, I'd always, like, created storylines in my head, and, I loved to, for instance, if I really liked a song, I would think about, like, a music video that would go along with it. Or if I watched a movie, I would think about, like, an alternate version of the movie. And when I was in this writing class, it was the first time that I was able to take these ideas that were floating around in my head, and they weren't real, but I was able to make them real. And so that was the first time I realized that I wanted to do that. And then at the end of that class, we had a film assignment where we had to make a short film, and I had so much fun making this 10-minute short film that was just so bad, but me and my friends just loved doing it. And after that, I just kind of kept making film projects, and yada yada.
Here we are today.
Here I am today. Yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to, like, the creative impulses that you have when you're younger. Like, I like how you mentioned, like, making a music video in your head when you're listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of these things are like, you have these thoughts when you're younger, but they're not as tangible.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get plugged into all these creative processes, like nowadays, if I had like a storyline in my head or something, it would only take a while for my brain to be like, oh, that could be a movie. Like, oh, that's a movie. That's my next creative project. That's my next, like, I latch onto it.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're a kid, like, a lot of times they just kind of float around. Like, you're still aware that maybe there's something interesting there, but it doesn't have as much like tangible potential, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, it's like we're still being creative even when we're little and thinking of these little absurd stories. But I think now we can actually do something with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you have all these childhood memories, then you like start to realize like, oh, there might be something there. Like this is something tangible, and then you go to UNA.
Uh-huh.
What was the process like? Because I know you weren't in film immediately. What was the process like coming to the film program here, and what has your experience with that been like?
Okay, so to kind of, I guess, tell it from the beginning, when I graduated high school, it was COVID year.
Mm.
So I was coming into college in the year 2020, and to basically summarize it, I had a lot of anxiety about the future, so I was majoring in psychology for a couple of reasons. I figured I mainly wanted to be like a mental health counselor because my aunt and uncle were, and I thought it was a safer path to go. And so I did that, and my transition to college was a little rough. Me getting back into film is kind of tied with like my life story, so I apologize if it's dramatic.
Oh, it's dramatic, but hey, that's what podcasts are all about. That's story. Oh, yeah, and we see the story in that too. Yeah, I think that's a good point as well.
Well, it was a hard kind of transition because like I don't think psychology is necessarily always fun. Like there's not like a fun psychology thing you can do. And so I didn't really have any friends in the psychology department. And in terms of what I was learning, it got really scientific really quickly. Like, your general psychology classes are more so like, how can we help people? But then soon you get into like positive reinforcement and like, here are reinforcement schedules that you learn. Oh, and it was just terrible. And I remember like one day I was sitting in class and the teacher was like, here's this study about rats, where like we gave rats, this drug that made them sick. And then we made them drink this water, and then we flashed a bunch of lights at them, and this is how they responded. And I just remember, like, just sitting there in my desk, like, what am I learning? Like, this is terrible.
It wasn't for you.
No, it was not for me. And so that, in my second semester of my sophomore year, I was just like, I have to do something. And I had done film in high school, and I loved it. And so I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to switch majors yet, but I'm going to take a script writing class, and I'm gonna take some entertainment industry classes. Oh, and I also took, I guess like a film. I took Elements, which if you're not a CAP major, you basically just either do film or theater stuff, and you get credit for it. And so that semester, I was writing stories in my script writing class, and I was going on film sets, with people I had never met before. And it was like I was rediscovering this fun, creative side of myself. It was like I got to write these story ideas that I had, and people sat around in a little semicircle, and they talked about them. They talked about what was good and what was bad and how to make them better. And I got to listen to their stories, and I got to do the same. And it was so gratifying. It was so, and I was like staying up super late again. I was pulling all-nighters to finish these scripts before we read them because I enjoyed it so much. And after that, I was like, yeah, I need to keep doing this. And with the film sets that I was on, you know, I was doing like these 12-hour days, you know, mostly just standing around waiting to help somebody. But I was talking with all these creative people who were really passionate about what they were doing, and they were trying to tell a very specific story. And it was so interesting and so fun. It was hard, but it was really fun. And so after that, I was just like, yeah, I need to keep doing this. And so I signed up for all film classes the next semester. I signed up for an acting class in the first semester of my junior year. And, you know, through that, I realized that I enjoyed acting. And so I was like, I need to keep doing this. And, you know, I was in an intro film class where I got to work on intro film projects. And it was the same type of gratifying thing where all of us brought our films to class and we would talk about them and what worked and what didn't and how to make it better. Through doing that, I met people in the department like you, Grayson, who I really liked your films. I met my friend Davis.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I met my friend Davis, who's now my roommate, and I always liked his films. I met people who I just liked to work with and who I felt like were really good artists. And another thing was that it was just so much fun to create stuff. You know, I always like creating things with other people because at the end of it, you have something tangible that you can show off and you can be like, this is a part of me. I did this. And being able to share that with experience with other people is really good. And so yeah, that's been my experience with getting into the arts. And then I just kept meeting people in the cinematic arts and theater department.
Yeah, I mean, I think as someone else who is also part of that intro to screenwriting class with McHenry, I had the same exact experience. I was like, it just felt very satisfying to like have a group where you bring something like, hey, I wrote this. It may be kind of like embarrassing or vulnerable, but like then everyone just talks about it, and they talk about it so practically and very just like, all right, what can we do to fix this? What's good about it? What's not good about it? And I think it was at that point where I started to be like, okay, maybe I am in the right place. Like maybe college is like, you know, maybe this has something to offer me. Because I think before that, a lot of it was kind of like you were talking about with the psychology classes. There's just maybe not as organic of an opportunity to socialize sometimes. You know, it can be a little intimidating when you're all like sitting there just like listening to the teacher lecture. But there is something like inherently social when you're like having a script writing group and you're talking to each other about it. And then not only are you having fun with the creative aspect, but you're also kind of getting to know people. You're getting to know their tastes, like what they like, what they don't like. And you're also just like learning about them as people through their work. So script writing class, great way to hone your creativity and make friends, is what I would say.
That's been my cheat code to make friends, is just to work with them, because I feel like friendship just happens so much more organically if you're working together on something. So
I agree.
so
And
if you want to make friends, just ask them to help you make your movie.
Yeah, a lot of times people are much more willing than you'd expect them to be. You're like, oh, I don't know if someone wants to act in something. But that would be my advice to any incoming like cat freshmen or anything. Just ask somebody to act in your movie, and they might say yes. You know, it's like if they say no, just ask another cat actor, because a lot of people are waiting to act in movies. They want this opportunity, and like they think it's only really practical on the stage. But there are opportunities for film as well, for film acting. So I'm preaching to the camera right now. I'm just like staring right into it. But like, yeah, I think that's my advice. So let's just talk like a little specifically about what you enjoy about film. What specific parts of film are your favorite? Because I think, like me, there's some overlap. I think we both love screenwriting, and we both love a lot of the directing parts of it as well. I think that there's something about that feels very... I mean, I think this sounds obvious, but it's very creative. It's very creatively fulfilling. It's maybe the less technical side. But also, even on the more technical side, like I love things like editing. I edited this podcast for a while. And so, yeah, I just kind of wonder what parts you gravitate to and what your experience has been like with those. What do you like? What do you like about film?
I I don't know. There's a lot of things. I think because because I would always come up with stories in my head, I would always see them, and along with hearing them, I would create little movies in my head, and so, making film is just a continuation of that. But more so I just think that film is the best way to share an experience with someone. I think, if you can sit down and get them to watch your film, like, they'll be watching it, they'll be listening to it, they'll be experiencing some kind of emotion through it. I don't think that it's exactly the same through any other medium like writing, and I've never been good at sound recording at all. So, even though I know how to write music, I've never really gotten into like sound production or anything like that. And so I think for me, it's the easiest way for me to take these story ideas that I have in my head and share them with other people, in a way that I would relate to. And another thing, which is a really generic answer when people ask like what you like about filmmaking, is the collaborativeness of it. Like, I think it's really fun to make movies. When you're writing something, you don't have to depend on anybody, which is nice. But it's not necessary for people to be part of that process. Like when you're making a film, you are working with a crew and you're working with actors, and all of those people, they have to share a shared experience making that. And also people have to like you.
Yeah.
You have to either pay people or they have to like you. And something that like I've found is that since I'm a student filmmaker and I have no money, I can't pay them. I can give people class credit, but that only goes so far. And so you have to be a likable person, which I guess, I don't know if that's good advice. Like if you want to be a better person,
Be nice to people.
Yeah.
I think that definitely helps. Yeah, people may be willing to work with you once if you're a jerk, but I don't think they're going to be willing to work with you twice. Like, I think that, and that's what's really interesting is how often that's come up. Like, I feel like at all these film panels that I go to, or like any kind of like, podcast you listen to about like film people, like so often that's a piece of advice is just like, be nice. Like, don't be a jerk. Like, make people want to work with you. So that's like, I do think that's very practical advice, even if it is like maybe kind of obvious.
Yeah,
and
it helps to hold you accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. I think sometimes maybe even as director or something, when you have some authority, you can kind of accidentally be a jerk. But I think that when you realize that and you can catch yourself and be like, oh, be nice, like that can be your mantra, I think that helps to like pull back and just like keep the tone right. You want the vibe on set to be good.
Mm-hmm. And there's always, every film set has a story, whether it's a fun story or a bad story. But the fun stories at film sets are so great.
Yeah.
There are so many random jobs that you have to do, and there's so many things that can be funny, like somebody having to hide in the bathroom holding a mic, or I acted in a film last year where I got to be covered in fake blood, and I got to pretend that I was dead, and it was so much fun. And there are so many crazy things that have to go right in order for a movie to get made. I did one film where we were filming like a car, and in order to prevent the windshield from reflecting back, we were holding a curtain above the car so that it would like block any of the reflection. And holding a tarp over a windshield isn't necessarily fun, but it's fun when you're with friends, and it's so gratifying to like get that shot. It's so gratifying to be able to like look in the camera and say that looks so good, and we pulled it off. And I think that people also like doing that as well. Like the people who were holding the tarp, when their arms were getting tired, and I was like cut, and I was like, I think we got it. That is so gratifying for them. And so it's almost like filmmaking is almost like a heist that you're trying to pull off, and these things have to go right. And it's I love the experience of being on a film set, even though it is very long. Film sets are always longer than you want them to be. There's always something tedious with it. You'll always forget something will always go wrong, but at the same time, it can be so gratifying, no matter what position you're in.
Totally agree, my friend. As someone who's been on many of the same sets with you, I agree. And there's always a story. I like that quote. Put that up on the wall behind us, on our blank wall. Just before we go, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of our plans and mission statements, if you will, if we want to sound like a professional company, about this year for SOTA Pop. And I think one of the big things for us is a real focus on School of the Arts specifically. You know, this is the SOTA Pop podcast, and I think we're really going to try to ask more people from more different departments on this year. We'd love to see people from visual arts on more culinary students, hospitality majors, you know, just have more representation from all of our different departments. I'm a cat major, so sometimes it may feel a little cat focused, but I'm definitely trying to get away from that and just make sure that we have representation from all of the different departments here. That's definitely a priority. What about you, Trevor? What are you looking forward to, excited about this year for SOTA Pop?
I'm pretty excited for the same things. Also, to clarify, I am also a cat major, so...
2 cat majors.
Yeah, so we have to be double sure that we include
We're
everybody.
going to really be sure. We'll be looking out for each other.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just excited to try to take this podcast to the next level, you know?
Yeah, let's take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Let's take it to the next level, man. We're gonna
Like, before it's
great.
like, you know, before there was the podcast, and then now we're like, okay, let's get real now.
Let's get real. It's gonna be Trevor and Grayson Get Real. That's gonna be
But it's still going to be called the SOTA Pop.
but it'll still be called the SOTA Pop
It'll
podcast.
be SOTA Pop Podcast, Grayson and Trevor Get Real.
Trevor and Grayson Get Real, Wednesdays at 12,
Yeah.
something like that. Well, before we leave, how about a little fizzle down feel good? Let's just talk about something good that's happened to us this week. It can be something small. It can be something just like really little, like somebody held the door open for you. Just something nice that happened to you, just to end on a positive note.
Well, something nice that's been happening to me. Well, I've been in, one of the things that's happening in the Cinematic Arts and Theater Department is they're putting on a production of this musical called Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. And I've been cast as an ensemble member. And one of the nice things that has happened is that last night Drew said that we sounded good. And it felt good, you know?
That is nice. A compliment from an authority figure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you want something more tangible, I got a coffee table last night.
Those are both good. Those are both they're
Yeah.
tangible enough for me. I mean, yeah, those are great examples. I think that's always a nice feeling. And a coffee table is nice as well. For me, I'm just going to say something that's been nice this year in general as we started the school year is Mr. Trevor Peck here has been giving me a lot of rides to class. And it's been very nice, very, very helpful because it's so hot outside.
Yeah.
And it's been very nice to have somebody to take me to class. You know, it's just been it's been Alabama. It's been an Alabama summer, and I'm ready for it to be an Alabama fall.
Oh, yeah.
So that it ain't so dang hot all the time.
It's hot.
It's hot and it's humid.
Oh, Lord.
And I'll tell you that before we leave. It's hot.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
But yeah, thank you so much for being on, Trevor. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm sure that this will not be a one-time thing. But if it is, I'll eat my words. But right now I'm going to say, no, it's not going to be a one-time thing. Anything you want to talk about before you leave? Anything you want to plug, put out there?
Stay in school.
Stay in school.
Stay in school.
Be cool. Make friends. And as we said earlier, be nice.
Yeah. Be
nice.
kind. Be
kind
nice.
to one another,
Treat,
you know?
Yeah. Treat people well, and they will want to be around you more.
And they'll work on your film sets.
Yeah, they'll work on your film sets
when you can't
without
pay them.
pay. And feed them, too.
Yeah, you
Give
should
them
feed
food.
them. You should feed them. That's
And-
for sure.
And don't make them pay for the food.
Don't make them pay.
Don't.
Feed them. They're doing work for you. So
Yeah.
at least give them
They're
food.
getting class credit, but they can get it elsewhere.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Good to know. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Check us out on YouTube. We have an Instagram, SOTA Pop. We'll figure out all of those names later. I think it's UNA SOTA Pop. But Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, we're in a lot of places. So thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.